This is Stage 12, Anawana Lake. With one chicane. This is the reverse of Shakedown and reverse of Kutcher's Run. Hey, it's Oscar. Hey guys. Thanks. We are armed.
40 seconds.
Thanks. We're looking at a 50, right 6.
Have him move it away.
Left 6 plus, over crest 120. Left 4 long, camber loose. 15? Oh, sorry. Now 15. 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Right 6, left 6 plus, over crest 120. Left 4 long, camber loose.
Sorry.
No problem, no go. Right 5 plus long, 150. Right 6 into flat small crest 180. Keep it in. Left 3, loose camber. Keep going, keep going. 50, flat small crest 70. Left 6 plus, over flat small crest 70. Flat small crest 100, right 4 plus, loose. Left 5, very long, over small crest, loose. 100. Flat long small crest 70. Stay right over flat small crest 100. Stay left over flat small crest kinks 150. Stay left over flat small crest commit 350. Chicane right entry. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. $70, right 2 plus, no cut. Left 6 plus, long, go. Into flat small crest, 400. Left 5 minus, over small crest, go, 50. Stay right over flat crest, 300. Go, go, go. 5 minus. 300. Flat small jump 200. Right 6 over flat small crest 50. Keep going. Left 6 plus over flat crest. Go, go, go. Over finish 50. Jump 100. Done. Slow it, slow it, slow it.
I'm trying without cooking my brakes too much.
You're not gonna cook them. Good job.
Not really.
Hey. Doing fine. How about yourself?